right. Hello and welcome everyone to Get More Clients. I am so excited to see you here today, and we are ready to go and get into the show. So I wanted to let you know that welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down leads, lack client retention, conversion, and profit. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women and men around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients, because many can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, eliminate the lengthy, chaotic sales cycle to ignite your sales and unleash lasting profits. You'll also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. So last week, Dr. Robyn and I shared how to conquer your inner obstacles and fears for true success. As you can see, she's here today. She's back, and Dr. Robyn Odegaard and I will be sharing why assessing your unique brilliance boosts your power. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Robyn. She is a former competitive beach volleyball player with a doctorate in business psychology, focusing on peak performance. Her combination of real-world experience, formal education, and 15 years of experience working with high-profile clientele makes Dr. Robyn unique in the coaching world. And she's affectionately known as the mental McGyver, because Dr. Robyn's expertise is in real life complexities. Well, Dr. Robyn, I am so glad to have you here. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks, Lynn. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me again.
I am really excited to have this conversation because today Dr. Robyn's going to share her insights with a standout tool to empower you. You will learn how to dismantle mental barriers, create a growth mindset, and embrace a future where your full potential is realized. By the end of today's show, you will know how to explore the labyrinth of feeling overwhelmed, underutilized, undervalued, and underestimated. This tool and this method is going to illuminate the dangerous path of self-sabotage while tapping into your unique zone of genius, empowering you to regain control over your life. This is a transformational journey where chaos is tamed, hurdles become stepping stones, and your success awaits. So let's get right into this. Dr. Robyn, I know our audience is just dying to know about how you do this. So how do you explore the labyrinth of feeling overwhelmed, underutilized, undervalued, and underestimated?
Absolutely. Let's go. So, overwhelmed, I think that that's a given when people are trying to do all of the things themselves. They feel like if I don't do it, it's not going to be done correctly. There's no way. I can't hand it off. I can't delegate. And I actually have a client that I have kind of a running bet with, that if I sit with her and she does a project, does whatever she's doing, and I take notes, and then I do it once with her helping me and kind of refine my notes. If I can do it the next time to 80% capacity, it means it's not in her zone of genius. She does not have to do it, and we can create an SOP and delegate it. The challenge for her with that is 80% is not perfect. And how does she let go of that 20% of, if I let go of control, then it's going to be 20% going to be wrong. Not wrong, maybe just not ideal. So that's one way to deal with that be feeling overwhelmed. Start delegating stuff and stop thinking that everything is in your zone of genius.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. And I love that comparison with perfectionism, because I think that's a really good example. And certainly it really taps into being overwhelmed and actually underutilizing your own team or your support group, your peers, whatever that is. But what about those who are sort of having those feelings of being undervalued or underestimated?
So undervalued also comes from not doing the things that you are really, really good at. They are your amazing talents. how can you possibly be valued if you're doing simple things that anybody can do? Like, if anybody can do it, why are you doing it? You're not going to be valued for your skills if you're doing all the things that anybody can do. And the underestimated comes from surrounding yourself with people who want you to play small. Surrounding yourself with people who are constantly worried. We talked last week about the two different kinds of fear, right? And that trauma-based fear. Oh my goodness, if you do that, you might fail. If you do that, you might look dumb. If you surround yourself with people who are constantly telling you, oh, that's dangerous, don't do that, and feeding your trauma-based fears, of course you're going to feel undervalued because they aren't valuing you. You're going to feel underestimated because they don't believe you can succeed. So if you're feeling underestimated, look at who's around you. What are they saying to you?
Yeah. No, that's true. And that's just sort of feeding what I term, negative Nelly and negative Ned. You call it
Mm-hmm.
head trash, but it's actually
Mm-hmm.
creating a cycle that it's feeding that, those negative tendencies that we all have, right? Instead of helping us break through those, or to look at them and to say, is this fear-based or is it trauma-based fear? Because as you pointed out, those are two very distinct types of fear. Trauma-based fear are things that you need to really analyze, understand, so that you can move through and make a change and break through those. They're
Mm-hmm.
holding you back. Whereas intuition-based fear, right? That's the one that is telling you it's negative Nelly who's there for a reason.
She's
She's
right.
telling,
Yeah,
yeah,
listen.
she's don't walk down that really dark alley in this sketch part of the neighborhood while you're counting cash. I
Right.
mean, what the heck? Don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's an
Mm-hmm.
extreme case, but we both talked about how that's really tapping into your gut
Mm-hmm.
and really listening to your gut. And so I think that this idea of looking at your feelings and how this is what's happening is so critical. So I think let's sort of talk about one of the things that can occur when people are in this, let's just call it a vicious cycle. Can
Mm-hmm.
you illuminate the dangerous path of self-sabotage?
Self-sabotage is such a problem. And you can't talk about self-sabotage without talking about imposter syndrome. You kind of have to start there. And this belief of, oh, I'm not good enough. Should I be doing this? Maybe I'm not. And that voice in your head that's like, who do you think you are? And the question I love to ask my clients when they start kind of spiraling into that space is, well, if not you, then who? Who do you think is better? Why are they better? Are they different than you? Is it somehow that you're doing the same thing they are? You shouldn't be doing it. And for me, imposter syndrome is understanding, what are you actually good at? And if I can talk to you and I can say, this thing right here is your zone of genius, you're really good at it, then imposter syndrome needs to go away because you are really good at that thing. And that's the hardest thing I think with people with imposter syndrome is they aren't really good at saying, I'm really good at this, and owning it. So you have to start with imposter syndrome if you're going to talk about self-sabotage. And
Yeah.
another thing that comes with that then kind of feeds on the imposter syndrome, procrastination by research. Oh, I don't know enough. Let me learn some more. Let me take this course. Let me pay for the. Stop procrastinating by researching and start doing some things. That's not to say I don't believe in continuous learning. I do. Absolutely, I do. I learn every single day, but don't use it as a source of procrastination.
Yeah. Well, and that also ties into those people who are high experts. They want to learn stuff, but you've got to have enough of the catalyst in you that to take action to actually go, okay, let's move forward. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that piece. Now, one of the other things, and I just heard this yesterday, that a stat about entrepreneurs, and business owners, that they have some, like some of the worst sort of health habits because of the fact that they aren't practicing self-care. They're often working really long hours, so they're not getting enough sleep. They've got a lot more stress because they're trying to wear all these different hats. And so there's a lot of different ways that self-sabotage shows up. And I'm wondering if you want to expound on any of those other ways that self-sabotage can show up?
Absolutely. When I talk about self-sabotage, three things I always list: sleep, how you're eating, what you're feeding yourself, and whether you're getting enough exercise. Those are top three. And then the fourth one that I bring up, and people kind of cringe, but I need to say it: self-medicating with alcohol.
Yeah.
It's a major problem. I don't know if you saw it, but I recently wrote an article on LinkedIn about it. Those four things: if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not fueling your body well, you're not getting enough exercise, taking care of your body, and you're self-medicating with alcohol or drugs of some kind, you're self-sabotaging your success. Your body will shut down on you, full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, I'm, I see where you're going with this, and it's like if you're not getting enough sleep, you're, that's an immediate, you're not functioning at 100%. It's really hard to get your brain working. And that leads to the the fact that then you're going to pick up any kind of virus that's going around. I mean, that's a simple one that everybody can see. So now, as we sort of look into this, you mentioned tapping into your unique zone of genius. So, how do you do that? How do you recognize it? And why does tapping into your unique zone of genius empower you to really regain control of your life?
So your zone of genius is what makes you unique in the world. It is the reason that people, your clients, are going to come to you and say, I want to work with you. I recently was talking to someone and she was asking me about, business proposals and how I write them. And I said to her, I haven't written an actual business proposal in a really long time, because people come and talk to me and they say, I want to work with you. They're not shopping it around. They're not trying to figure it out. They want to work with me. So then it's just about creating an invoice with a basic contract on it that says, here's what you're buying from me. And that is my zone of genius, is being able to have people meet me and say, yes, I want you. And if you're not in your zone of genius, you're going to be generic. You're going to be similar to everybody else. You're going to be copying other people. And why would people buy from you if you're the same as Joe Schmo down the street who sells it cheaper? And then you get into a price war, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also tapping into your zone of genius does something else for you. It allows you to actually serve and help others and create real impact, because that's where you are really shining, and it also feeds your own soul.
Oh, you thrive so much more. It's so much more fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So now let's get into, I'm going to save the last half of the show to really go into the tool that you use so that people can get there, so they can get from, where they are to where they want to be. And it's called the Foresting Project. And I want to be real full disclosure, everyone. I've tried this. I love this method. And it does break down life's complexities into manageable elements. So, Dr. Robyn, will you walk us through how the Foresting Project method works, what it is, how it works, and then maybe let's do an example.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start by saying it's going to feel overwhelming. When you first decide to do this, it's going to feel, so that's the whole point. It's a forest. It's big, it's huge. There's so many trees. Oh my goodness. How am I going to look at all the trees? So don't look at the whole forest. The whole point of this, breaking this down, this foresting project, is how can you look at each piece of your life individually? So I encourage people to use index cards. I don't know, did you use index cards, or did you do it on a digital format,
I'm
Lynn?
a sticky note person. I use
Okay,
color-coded sticky notes, and then
perfect.
I also then use them on a board, and I sort of arrange them as I was going.
Okay, good. So I use index cards. I like index cards. Sticky notes works great. Some people like to do it on an online. That doesn't work for me. There's something about the actual physical writing that really helps. It accesses a different part of your brain. So I encourage you to write, but get yourself some index cards or sticky notes. Use different colors, get different pens if that works for you. And you're going to create categories. So your first category, pick a color, might be your personal life. Let's start there. Your personal life. And then you're going to create an index card for anybody in your personal life, all the people. So if you have a spouse, if you have children, if you have parents, just one index card for each person, and kind of break it down. So now that section of the forest has a breakdown. You're going to put tasks. If you have tasks that you do related to your personal life, create a card for that. you're going to need big space. Get out your big, huge dining room table or something, or on the floor, and create these individual index cards. And then on the back of those index cards, I want you to create feeling words. And this is tough. Google feeling word lists, because that's going to help you. So often, I know we talked last week about how your emotional brain doesn't have access to language. So it has these feelings and your logical brain is like, I don't know what to do with that. If you Google a feeling words list, you can start reading the words, and eventually your emotional brain will go, yeah, that one, that's the right word. And you can write it down, and it'll give you an idea, like, how do I feel about this? What, am I overwhelmed by it? Do I feel good about it? Does this bring me joy? Could this be in my zone of genius? So you're going to do that for each of the cards, each of the people, each of the tasks. You're going to create another grouping, different set of colors for your professional life. Who are the people? What are the tasks? What do you have going on? Create these individual cards, break it down, because it's going to let you look at each of these individual trees individually. Do the same thing. How do you feel? What do you think? What comes up for you? What's the deal? And another bonus you can add, how much time do you think you spend doing it each week? If you write on each one of these cards how much time you think you spend doing each week, what you'll find when you get done, you're going to add it all up and realize I spend more time than I have in a week. Well, no wonder you feel overwhelmed. No wonder you have so much going on. And you can do each section, so you can have your personal life, your professional life, volunteerism if you volunteer somewhere. If you have a social group like a church, something that you do, you can have a social. So whatever the big pieces of your life are, create individual colors for those and break them down, just like we said. And then at the end, what you can really look at is you can see which tree needs to be removed. Like, this is a tree that I should not be spending time on. Maybe I delegate it. Maybe it's not bringing me joy anymore. Maybe I'm doing out of an obligation. Maybe this person is toxic. Like, those trees should be cut down, remove them from your forest. You're going to see other trees where you're like, this is a really important tree to me, and I'm not taking enough care of it. It needs more water. It needs more fertilizer. It needs more something, whatever that means. But it'll really tell you, where is your time going, and what does it mean for you if these trees need pruning or removing or fertilizing? That's the gist of how the foresting project works.
Yeah. And I want to add something about that really triggered something in my mind, because, I have this big heart. And when you're like cutting down the tree with someone who's toxic, that can be hard,
Yes.
And so here's the thing. This is a trick that I've done, as I just start to distance myself in the sense that I'm not engaging. And so I can limit that engagement, so that I get to the point, and sometimes for me, it's taken like a year to get to a point where I'm not engaging at all with that person anymore. But for me, it was a transition, and it helped me so that I didn't feel that I was just cutting them off, that big heart,
Right.
Instead, I started to distance myself and also be in a place that I would not like look at text messages or other things until I was okay, I'm in a space. I'm just going to look at this without emotion. And then, do I need to respond? And if I do I have to get into it? So that is one method that I personally applied that worked really well, so that I could distance myself, and the tree just naturally died. That makes
Right. It
sense.
just, and when you said,
It worked better for me than just, everybody's
yeah,
different.
when you said, do I need to respond? The thing I would notice about that is, in that need, do I feel obligated to respond, or does this actually require a response? Because if it's obligation, you can cut that limb off. No, I am not obligated. I don't owe anyone my time.
Yeah.
If you've ever listened to my TEDx talk, at the end of it, I say, when you learn there's no water in a well, stop going there looking for a drink. And that's the thing with people who are toxic, is we often keep going back to them because we want the relationship to be different than it is. But instead of getting nourishing, good, useful water, they take from us.
Yeah.
And that's something that, and this foresting project will help you notice that. When you start writing on the back of the card, you'll realize, oh yeah, this relationship isn't healthy.
Yeah. And they're just sapping your energy. I
Mhm.
look at it another way too, is I'll say, I remind myself too, is before I was like, I don't owe anyone an interaction,
Nope.
you know? And so with that, that's just like an affirmation statement. And that way,
Mhm.
then I can, okay, I don't need to get into this,
Right,
you know?
exactly.
And, I can also, with some people, like with my mom, I can let things sort of roll like a duck, water off of a duck, right? Because I
Mhm.
don't owe an interaction, but I can still be there so that she can talk about something, right? She's
Mm,
86 and she's going to talk about something, and I can just not engage except for
right.
going nodding and okay, yeah,
And
So,
it's possible to love somebody from an emotional distance.
yes.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So the other thing I really liked is the idea that um you when you start to look at this, and then you're also asking, does this serve me?
Mm,
And how is this, so if it's my business, how is this serving our business? How is this generating revenue? I mean, and if you start looking at things, is this a revenue generating activity? Or is this, I know recently we cut back on our social media and we just simply stopped on multiple platforms because it doesn't serve us.
mhm.
And it was like, this is just, even though it seems like, oh, we just have to redo something for something, it's still time and energy. That's
Yep.
money.
Mhm.
And that's not where our people are. So that's another thing, that because people tell you have to be doing all these things and doing all this stuff. Well, you don't. You don't have to.
Nope.
This is a choice. You get to make the choice. And that is another trick that I've used in going through this, is asking, how does this serve me in the business? Is it providing us with income or revenue? Is it providing us with promotion that leads to more exposure? Is it providing us with strategic partners that leads to revenue, right? Indirectly. So looking at those things, or is it something that just um, makes us celebrate what we're doing? I mean, that's a good thing too. So
Right.
when you go through those, that's another insight for me when I went through this foresting project. So let's use an example, Dr. Robyn, of just pick somebody, sort of how they would do this. I know you sort of went into it, but
Mhm.
maybe let's give everybody a little bit more tangible example.
Yeah. So the thing I'd like to point out real quickly on the back of what you just said is that very high performers are typically extremely resilient. And so we continue doing things because, well, I can do it and I can push through and it's going to get better. And sometimes you just have to say, no, I don't need to push through. I don't need to be resilient. I don't need to, this isn't going to get better. And even if it is, I don't want to expend the energy to get to wherever better is. So
Yeah.
resilience can be a negative trait in a
Yeah.
situation like that. So something to notice when you start doing these cards. So let's think about an example. I'll use myself as an example.
Okay.
Lynn, you've been on my podcast, Quick Hits, for people, 10 minutes, one topic. I did it for 6.5 years. I did 600 episodes. Phenomenal. Met some interesting people, had some great conversations. But when I started doing this project, one of the things I wrote, because I do this myself periodically, quick hits, wrote it on my card, turn it over. I loved meeting people. Like I met you because of quick hits. I love talking to people. I love the intellectual stimulation, which is why I started it. All of that was really great. The things that I hated, the back end work, having to make sure I always had 4 people, the pattern of, and this is where I was resilient. Like on Tuesdays, I do this, on Wednesdays, I do that, I record on Thursdays, and it just became this pattern, but it was taking up a lot of my time. And I had to really seriously look at, is it benefiting my business in the way that is useful, that continuing after 600 episodes would help? And I had to talk to my coach about it because I was like, no, I love it. It's great. It's fun. But I brought the card to my coaching session and I was like, look, this is what I've come up with. And he said to me, Robyn, you're continuing to do it because you're resilient, not because it's benefiting your business.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do I do? What do I tell people? How do I stop? What? And it was this whole conversation. And he said, you just stop. The people who care, the people who it matters to, the people who want to be in touch with you will reach out and say, hey, I haven't gotten an email. Where are you? What's happening? And you can interact with them. The ones who don't, it's not important. And so I did in October because of this project, doing a foresting I just stopped, and it still feels so weird to say that.
Yeah, I know.
As a high achiever, I'm like, what, you just quit? Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I did.
Sometimes you have to do that. I had a podcast at one time called Future Forward Sales. I only did like 65 or 68 episodes, but the same thing, I stopped doing it. So it's still live. I mean, people can still listen to it. I had
Yeah,
some great
same.
shows. I didn't take it down or anything. And of course you can re-promote those things, yada, yada. But it was, how is this serving me? And really asking that question. And so
Mhm.
one of those things is that once again, as those higher achievers, it's hard not to feel like you finished something.
Right?
I still remember back in graduate school, there was some book. I could not finish it. I hated this book. I think it was
Mhm.
by Günter Grass. And I kept trying to read this book. And even years later, I think it took me till I was 30, I got rid of the damn book.
Right, no
And it was like,
doubt.
I am never gonna finish it. I hate this book.
It's
But it
not
was,
value. Yep.
and it's so funny because now I would also do that and I would sit through movies or something. Well, maybe I got to finish it. And now
Nope.
it's like, no, I don't like it. I'm done.
You know what I learned about that? If you want to read more good books, stop reading bad ones
Yeah,
sooner.
absolutely. So this has been great. Dr. Robyn, thank you so much for sharing why assessing and accessing, I should say, your unique brilliance, although it's both assessing and accessing your unique
Absolutely.
brilliance boosts your power. I love your visionary method of the foresting project. I've done it myself. Everyone, this visualizing exercise of seeing life's complexities as separate trees in a forest, it really does bring them into manageable elements. And then you can go through that process you gain on clarity, on your own commitments, and it enables you to nourish, prune, or even remove those aspects that no longer serve you. Now, all of Dr. Robyn's contact information is going to be below in our show notes, and I highly encourage you to contact Dr. Robyn, the Mental McGyver. Now,
Thanks,
thank you
Lynn.
yes, thank you, Robyn. And thank you everyone for tuning in. My purpose is for you to get more clients. Bottom line, don't make this harder than it has to be. Sales should be a win-win. And going through this process is going to help you tap into your zone of genius in sales and your business. Because the fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. And the best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. When you do, you will find growing your business is easy and lucrative. Today, Dr. Robyn and I explored why accessing and assessing your unique brilliance boosts your power. And the key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting your time, energy, and resources, just as we had illustrated. Now you have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. You know, what's working, not working, and what you would love to have working. Now, both Dr. Robyn and her sphere of genius and me and mine, we're going to see how we might further support you and effectively generating whatever that is, your life and your business. For me, it's those leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling on your promise as a brand and organization. So say yes to you and get on a call with one of us. We are both truly gifted at this, and you deserve a shortcut to your success with the right support. Now, I want to just sign off by saying, make sure you don't miss a single episode by subscribing to get more clients wherever you get your podcasts. If you love the show, I want to thank you in advance for please give us a 5-star review. I'd very much appreciate it. Now, next week on Get More Clients, I'm going to be discussing why you are missing out when you fail to follow up. Oh my goodness. So I'll be seeing you next week on Get More Clients. And Dr. Robyn, thank you again for being on the show. It was absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, Lynn. Always a pleasure.